I would like to welcome you all to the Consulate of Mexico. This is a very special occasion in which you will receive very good news. And just let me start by recognizing my good friend Mayor Richard J, my good friend Secretary John Barela, and my good friend Dr. MaryAnne Saunders from UNM, who will take turns in addressing you today. And with that, I would like to recognize different state, city, and local officials here, as well as friends of the Consulate of Mexico who are joining us here today. So with that, Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Well, good afternoon. I am really excited to be with my friends and colleagues today for what I think is an incredibly important economic development initiative that we've actually been working on for well over a year, and it's now coming to fruition, and I think it's nothing but good news for our businesses in Albuquerque, in New Mexico, and certainly in Mexico. I would like to thank my good friend, the Mexican Consul, Mauricio Ibarra. Mauricio and I, we have dinner together with our families. Our children know each other. We are more than just a mayor and a consul. We have become good friends. And I think that Mauricio is doing some wonderful things. I think he has connections in Mexico that will allow us to really prosper with this initiative, and I want to thank him for his leadership. So Mauricio, thank you very much for all that you're doing. My other good friend, Cabinet Secretary John Barela from Economic Development, just really out there working on behalf of a pro-business governor, pro-business cabinet secretary, really looking for ways to be innovators in economic development. So John, I know you've got some words today. Thank you for your leadership. And then someone who I didn't know until 2012 when we took our trade mission to Mexico, Dr. MaryAnne Saunders from the University of New Mexico. A great leader at the university, certainly, but the ideas that she's going to be talking about today, I think you'll be really impressed with what the University of New Mexico wants to do. So we are here today to announce the opening of the New Mexico Trade and Higher Education Center in Mexico City. This important partnership between an American state in New Mexico, that state's largest city in Albuquerque, one of the main economic engines certainly for the state of New Mexico, and the state of New Mexico's flagship public university are teaming up together to have a first of its kind initiative in Mexico. Let me say that again. This is the first time in Mexico that a state, its flagship university, and its largest city have combined efforts to open up a trade office. And I think that speaks volumes about what we're trying to do here. The office will be located in Mexico City's World Trade Center, and it will house two experts that we are hiring, both in the areas of international trade and higher education, and I think that's an exciting combination. Not only are we excited about our new presence in Mexico, but we have received overwhelming support at all levels of government in both the United States and in Mexico. So on next Tuesday, a week from yesterday, we will travel with a delegation to Mexico City to inaugurate this first of its kind office. At our side will be several high-level dignitaries who want to personally show their support. And listen to this list of who's going to join us. We will have the U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Wayne Anthony, will be there. And we met the ambassador in 2012 when we were in Mexico City. He hosted a reception that we were invited to, and it was absolutely gracious. But it was also an opportunity for me as a mayor to see the excitement both in Mexico and with our delegation about this opportunity. We will have the Mexican Secretary for Foreign Affairs will be with us at the opening. The Mexican Undersecretary of Foreign Affairs for North America will be there, and we will also have the Mayor of Mexico City joining us. And as mayors, we all always like to get together. I was in New York City on Monday with a number of mayors from around the country. Mayor de Blasio hosted us. Mayor Rahm Emanuel was there, other mayors, and I was lucky to be invited to that. And whether it's in the United States or whether it's in around the world, mayors are mayors, and we like to get together and talk about opportunities, so we're thrilled to have him here. This is a serious step and a significant investment towards a stronger relationship with Mexico, both through friendship and as a trading and an educational partnership. With that said, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to underline why I think this is an important initiative and why the timing is perfect for both Mexico and New Mexico. First of all, why Mexico City? That's a question that I think people would ask. Mexico's capital has over 20 million people, and it's the country's economic and political center. We think that's important. Secretary Barela, Governor Martinez are doing tremendous work on the border, and we want to make sure that we use that as a foundation, and then that we move a little further into the country, deep into the country actually, in Mexico City, and we think it's a nice alliance. As I said earlier, I led a trade mission in 2012 to Mexico City, and while I was amazed at the size of the market, I was also shocked to learn how little Mexicans knew about New Mexico. We talked about tourism, we talked about trade, we talked about education, and we're missing some opportunities, honestly, because other folks have done a better job of talking to the consumer base in Mexico about the opportunities that they have in other states. And there's a map that I can show you that shows how much trade is being done, and I'll mention that in just a minute, and I think there's a great upside potential here. As certain trade routes between Mexico and the U.S. shift into New Mexico's port of entry, thanks to Secretary Barela and Governor Martinez, representation, I think, in Mexico City is crucial. At this very moment, Mexico's corporate and political leaders are making key investments and strategic planning decisions that could be hugely beneficial to our state, but we must be in the room and we must be at the table. This office will accomplish that. Second, what will this do for trade? Why Mexico City? We've explained that. What do I think it will do for trade? First of all, Mexico is New Mexico's largest market, with over $800 million in exports in 2013. So $800 million in exports in 2013 between New Mexico and Mexico. But the fact is, that is double our exports to Mexico in 2009. So we're really on the right trajectory. We're moving in the right direction. But if you look at this map of what other states are doing with trade, in Arizona, Texas, and others, Colorado even, we're dwarfed. And we think that there's great opportunity there. Mexico's growing consumer economy is an untapped market for our products, our services, and our businesses. This office will be a gateway for Albuquerque companies and companies from throughout the state of New Mexico to find customers, to find partners, and distributors in Mexico. Our Mexican trade representative will work with our local companies to research and generate business leads. And even more importantly, they will help them get past the language, logistical, and follow-up related barriers that keep so many of our companies in New Mexico from doing international business. And this will all be free to our local businesses. So if you are a business in New Mexico and you want to do business in Mexico, we're going to be there to help you. We're going to help you navigate, make those connections, build those bridges, and it's all going to be free to our businesses in the state. I'm proud to say that this service will be available, as I said, at no charge, either in Albuquerque or anywhere else in the state. And later, Dr. Saunders will share details about how our higher education component to this office is also going to make a great pipeline between our two cities, our states, and our countries. As mayor, I'd like to emphasize that UNM's initiatives will complement the trade program and generate an additional economic impact for Albuquerque. Now, to expand on the importance of this office to the state, I'd like to bring my friend, New Mexico Economic Development Secretary John Barela, up to the podium to make a few remarks. And I can tell you that without John, without the state of New Mexico, without the University of New Mexico really on a leadership role on this, and with the city of Albuquerque, this wouldn't have happened. This had to take all three entities working together, and I'm proud that we're able to do that. So please help me welcome John Barela.
Well, what a great announcement. It's a really, really good day for New Mexico. And I want to also thank Consul Ibarra. He has been also a great friend of the state of New Mexico. He does an amazing job of representing the Republic of Mexico and its people here in Albuquerque and in our wonderful state. And it's always an honor to be here with you in the consul. And thank you so much for your friendship. And it's always appreciated. And Governor Martinez extends her warm regards as well. Mayor Barry, what can I say? What a great mayor we have here in Albuquerque. He and his administration with Gary Oppedal. I want to recognize my friend Gary too. I got to tell you, you guys are doing amazing work for moving this region forward, because Albuquerque is an anchor to New Mexico's economic growth. We know that, not just by virtue of its size, but by the intellectual capacity, by the UNM, and with the other facilities that exist here, and we really appreciate the visionary work that's being done by the mayor and by his administration, especially in technology and R&D and innovation, and that is much appreciated. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership on that. University of New Mexico, Dr. Frank, Dr. Saunders, thank you so much for cooperating and working with us on this important and valuable project. I know Dr. Frank's vision of positioning the University of New Mexico as a driver and catalyst for R&D and innovation and ultimately jobs is something that we appreciate very much, and we're happy to partner with UNM on all these incredibly critical endeavors as we move our state forward. Really, I want to talk personally about how important this is, this project. I grew up along the border. 2 of my 4 grandparents are from Mexico. My grandparents owned a farm about 15 miles north of the border in Doña Ana County in the Mesilla Valley. I grew up in Las Cruces. Same for my dad's side of the family. Very similar background. We all in this room understand the cultural and commerce connections we have to Mexico. We have a link that is intertwined by culture and history, by commerce, by commonality of hopes and dreams for our people. And yet very often we have ignored the fact that these ties that bind us sometimes are taken for granted. And so 3 years ago, Governor Martinez is from that area as well, grew up in that region. We understood that both countries can prosper from an economic alliance that is undeniable. We are undergoing a massive reformation, in my opinion, of how jobs will be created around the world. I'm going to state something bold here today. Once again, people who have heard me speak about this subject know what I'm about ready to say. And that is the Asian manufacturing experiment is grinding to a halt. Products that are being produced in China are going to be in ever-increasing numbers produced in the Americas and along our border, and especially toward the interior of Mexico. Now, we can either choose to be on the sidelines and not recognize that, or we can play in the game and understand the alliance that we have. Because in the end, New Mexico, of course, competes for jobs with Texas, California, Arizona. But we have to understand the larger global picture and international economy, that it's not just New Mexico versus states in the US, it's our region, it's our binational competition, international competition that we have to play in. Therefore, let's recognize that Mexico is a strategic partner in job growth and the reshoring of these jobs to the Americas. And it's for that reason that we've done the best we can, and I think we've been very successful in positioning Santa Teresa, San Jerónimo, and the entire state as the inland port of choice for the Americas. That's ultimately the vision, because we have the geographic blessing here in the state to take advantage of that. And as a result, we've seen tangible economic results that have occurred in the last 3 years. The mayor talked about the doubling of trade to Mexico, the first of its kind binational master plan community, Santa Teresa and San Jerónimo, the thousands of jobs that have been created, according to the U.S. Department of Commerce, because of this exponential increase in trade with Mexico. Almost 6,000 jobs directly related to that trade increase. And as I always say, if we can't land a job in New Mexico, I hope it goes to Mexico. Because ultimately, by positioning our state to take advantage of that trade, we can at least take advantage of some of the more indirect aspects, whether it be logistics, transportation, warehousing. And as the mayor said, it's only the tip of the iceberg. We can do much better. So while we're pleased with the results, our expectation, our goals, and our objectives are to build upon those successes over the last 3 years. And I'm also proud to say that New Mexico is now a leader in export growth among the 50 states on our side of the border. And I'm very proud of that. And we will continue to press that advantage. Let me conclude my comments by saying that I had the great honor, the great pleasure and privilege to be a guest and a student at the University of Chihuahua in the summer of 1980. Much younger guy back then. And I was studying on behalf of the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown. And what's remarkable to me is to see how the two countries have moved together. NAFTA didn't exist then. The issues, in some respects, are the same. But what is really remarkable, and should be really encouraging to all of us, is that the two economies now are becoming more aligned, more integrated, and more successful ultimately because of the growing relationship and recognition of this commonality that we have with our neighbors to the south. And so as we move forward, this office takes us toward that goal and understanding that New Mexico, the Republic of Mexico, are bound not only by a common border, a common culture, a common history, but it now recognizes that we are bound by a common future and that we can do much better for our people, offer true hope, opportunity for our people, and move forward with mutual respect that is unprecedented. And that's why we're doing this today. And so, Mr. Consul, thank you. Mayor, Dr. Saunders, it's great to be part of this. And on behalf of Governor Martinez, it's an honor to participate in this event, and it's an honor to extend our presence to Mexico City. Now with that, I now have the pleasure of introducing Dr. MaryAnne Saunders, who runs the University of New Mexico's Global Outreach Initiative. And she's here to say a few words on behalf of UNM. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Saunders.
Well, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to thank Secretary Barela for your introduction, and to the Mayor for your kind comments, and especially to Consul General Ibarra, who not only has helped organize today's event, but has been instrumental in helping us navigate so many interesting events as we try to launch our office in Mexico City. We really appreciate it. I don't know how to express to you the depth of our appreciation. I also wanted to go back to a comment that the Mayor had made about the trade mission in 2012. That opened my eyes. I was very new to my position. I had joined UNM in August of 2012, went to Mexico with the trade mission in October, and that's when it became very clear to me. And the following year, when I traveled to Mexico with the President Frank, it became very clear to both of us who our prime partner was going to be. And so then it became a mission for both of us and for many others at the university to bring this concept into fruition, and to do that with such wonderful partners as the city of Albuquerque and the state of New Mexico was beyond our wildest dreams at the time. So we're very pleased to be working with such wonderful partners. I wanted to mention that one of the reasons UNM is so we are so interested in having a presence in Mexico is that we have a long and robust history of working in Mexico. We wanted to build on these experiences and on these initiatives from the past and the present and move towards the future. We currently, for example, have over 40 partnerships in Mexico with Mexican institutions of higher education. That's a pretty robust number. And what we would like to do is build on those that we already have and perhaps grow new ones, assuming that the Mexican institutions of higher education find that to be of interest to them. We also obviously and clearly, as Secretary Barela mentioned, have a strong cultural heritage connection between the state of New Mexico and the country of Mexico. What's interesting to me is both the commonalities between New Mexico and Mexico and the differences, which are very intriguing to students and to faculty and to research. So that's where the university comes in. What do we think this office will accomplish? What impact do we think that this office will have in terms of the academic or the higher education component? Well, there is an initiative currently underway called 100,000 Strong in the Americas. This is a bilateral US-Mexico initiative which seeks to increase the number of Mexican students studying in the United States, which is currently at 14,000, which is unbelievably low for a large country that is our neighbor. Vietnam has more in the United States. They have 17,000. So to increase the number from 14,000 to 100,000, and this is sponsored by the President of Mexico. The other part of that initiative is to increase the number of US students who are studying abroad in Mexico from the currently embarrassingly low number of 4,000 to 50,000. So we want a lot more student mobility between the US and Mexico, and that's one of the things that this office aims to accomplish. UNM is well positioned for this initiative. We can nurture and we can further develop these relationships throughout the country of Mexico and provide more opportunities for mobility for students and faculty. I want to read for you a quote from one of our Mexican students who has been at the University of New Mexico and has been very successful. Her name is Edith. She's an undergraduate student in electrical engineering, and she's from Valle de Chalco in Mexico. She's the class of 2016. And Edith says, UNM cares not only about providing a strong academic background, but also has vast resources to achieve full personal development. From the constant support of professors and counselors to countless classes and activities that have helped me develop a broader vision of what I want to be and how I want to contribute. Thus, this is how a semester at a time, a year at a time, I still find indispensable tools at UNM to address challenges and find solutions to be that strong woman who is competent and able to face each of the challenges the world introduces to a female engineer who is eager to innovate the future for the good of others. Thank you, Edith. Another quote from another student from Mexico. This is Tanya, who is in the School of Medicine, and she's from Mexico City, class of 2015. Mexico has a lot of talent and a lot to offer as a country, and I think that if we focus on promoting higher education, we could see many future achievements. Mexico has great academic institutions that are recognized worldwide, but I think it's also important to have an open mind. Studying in another country is important to bring new knowledge to our country. New systems are learned. Different ways of seeing things can definitely change perspectives and open the mind to the possibility of change and develop creativity. Thank you, Tanya. And what I want to stress here is that that's not only true for Tanya, it's true for our New Mexican students. We want so many more of our students to go to Mexico for their study abroad, whether that's a short-term experience or a semester-long or even a year-long experience, so that they can experience another way of looking at the world. So that brings us to reason 2 of 3 reasons why we think we will have an impact. We want to respond to the Obama-Peña Nieto initiatives. We would like to increase those numbers of undergraduate and graduate students studying for degrees at UNM. And in addition to the degree programs, we have designed specialized programs to receive Mexican students for certificate programs, for specialized English as a second language programs, and we want to continue to increase those types of programs. But we want to respond to our Mexican partners' needs and what they are telling us they need. So if they don't feel the need for a specific program, there's no need for us to develop it. If they feel a need for a program that is not currently on our books, then we will investigate ways to make that happen. We would also like to increase those students, as I mentioned before, who study abroad in Mexico. In particular, we would like students to take advantage of intensive Spanish language programs, for example, and have more students speaking at an even higher level of Spanish language. Mexico is our neighbor. We have a responsibility to have more students who are fluent in Spanish and English. And the third reason, we would like to see increased research opportunities between faculty at our partner universities and UNM. This relates to an initiative entitled the Bilateral Forum on Higher Education, Innovation, and Research, or FOBESI in Mexico, which is another component of the Obama Peña Nieto initiatives. So we have a lot of areas to concentrate on. We know that we have similar goals and objectives with our partner universities in Mexico, and we want to expand them. In order to accomplish those goals, we feel that building or strengthening relationships between the University of New Mexico and higher education institutions, both public and private, in Mexico is essential, but we need a presence there to do it, to sustain it. And that's why we want to open an office, especially in collaboration with the city and the state, because education doesn't just stop with a degree. There's a reason that people are becoming educated. They see a future, and their future for themselves involves very substantive contributions to their societies, and that's where the jobs piece comes in, the economic piece comes in, and we will work collaboratively to make those happen. At this stage, I will now turn the microphone back to Consul General Ibarra for closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Well, hello again. Thank you again to these great partners that we have here, because without them this really could not have happened. So on behalf of the Mexican government, I would like to recognize first the exceptional partnership between the state of New Mexico, the city of Albuquerque, and the University of New Mexico, which is really a rare thing to see, so congratulations. And second, the commitment, the willingness, and the vision of Mayor Perry, Secretary Barela, and the President of the University of New Mexico, Robert Frank, in order to strengthen the bonds that already tie New Mexicans and Mexicans. I believe really that the opening of this representation office in Mexico could not have come in a better moment. First, because as it has been mentioned, Mexico is currently New Mexico's first largest export market, with 800 million in exports in 2013. And second, because Mexico is going through a very exciting moment, as we have had a very stable economy and improving situation over the past years, and a series of 11 structural constitutional reforms were passed in areas such as energy, telecommunications, education, fiscal, financial, laboral, and political, electoral, amongst others, which aim to increase productivity, promote economic growth, and strengthen the rights and the liberties of Mexican citizens. Just 2 days ago, President Peña Nieto enacted the secondary legislation needed in order to implement the reform to the energy sector, which will accelerate economic growth and the development of Mexico in the years to come, creating diverse investment opportunities, including for New Mexicans. And if you allow me the commercial, you can read a little bit more about these reforms at www.reformas.gov.mx. No, but I think this is one of the reasons why Mexico is looking forward in its domestic and international efforts. And third, I think the opening of the New Mexico Center for Commerce and Higher Education takes place in the framework of this great level of cooperation between Mexico and the U.S. that you have heard about, and sharing this office shares objectives with 3 of the new bilateral cooperation mechanisms such as the high-level economic dialogue, which addresses issues such as competitiveness, connectivity, economic growth, productivity, and innovation. The Mexico-U.S. Entrepreneurship and Innovation Council, which seeks to promote and support entrepreneurs in both countries. And the mechanism that you heard about, the Forum for Higher Education, Innovation, and Research, which aims to develop a shared vision on educational cooperation and propose concrete initiatives to promote bilateral collaboration and policy coordination, particularly in STEM-related areas. It is through this last mechanism that initiatives such as the U.S. 100,000 Strong in the Americas and the Mexican Project 100,000 comes into place, which, as you have heard, with the objective of increasing the number of Mexican students enrolled in the U.S. to 100,000 by 2018, while 50,000 U.S. students study in Mexico by the same year. As you can see, with the establishment of this new representation office in Mexico, the state of New Mexico, the city of Albuquerque, and the University of New Mexico will be able to take advantage of the diverse opportunities that are being created on both sides of the border in key areas such as trade and education, and that certainly will have a positive outcome in terms of cultural and tourism promotion as well. I am really sure that the delegation visiting Mexico next week, headed by Mayor Berry, President Frank, and state officials, with no doubt will establish the necessary contacts as they meet with high-level Mexican officials, business people, and academics in order to support the initial operation of New Mexico Center of Commerce and Higher Education. With this, I just want to congratulate you all for this great initiative, and thank you all for coming.